Good morning, everybody. How are you? Welcome into my studio. Let me just do a sound check. Let me know if you can hear me all right. And if you can't, let's see if we got a good camera angle. Can see everything okay. I think I've got a bit of a glare on my glasses. Hopefully that's not too bad there. How about if I go like that? That's a little better. So, welcome. My name is Stephanie, and I am the Everyday Sewist. And I'm glad you're here today. I'm glad you could join me for a little bit of sewing, catching up on things, and seeing what's going on. So, we'll wait for some people to come in. Thanks, Jane. Okay, so I set that up right. Yay. It's always a miracle if I can get the technology part worked out. The struggle is real on that end. Technology is not my forte, that's for sure. So I end up having to do quite a bit of research trying to figure out how to get things to work. And when they do, I'm amazed, and I'm really glad that I can get something to work properly. So anyway, so we've got a few people joining us. Welcome in. Glad you could be here today. Boy, the weather, this is I've got my daylight light on. That's why I've got a bit of a reflection on my glasses. Because there's not enough light outside. Very cloudy, gray day here. But the temperatures are warmer. That's just so awesome that we are finally getting into the 60s. I'm really happy about that. And instead of snow last night, we got rain. So that's good. We'll be starting to see some of those spring flowers soon. I hope. My favorite time of year. Well, I like fall too. Don't like the heat and don't like the super cold, but Indianapolis is pretty good for all of those things. So while I was trying to get set up here, I thought I would do a little sewing because I wanted to make sure everything is in working order. So let me do one more little seam here, and then I'll show you what I've got going on this morning. I have 3 different projects that I am going back and forth in between. And so I'll show you those one by one. And tell me what you're working on this morning. Are you sewing? Are you, I don't know, what else? Cross stitching, knitting, relaxing, working on other things. I really like this time in the morning to do some sewing. And I've been trying to work with the concept of 5-minute matter. 5-minute matters. 5 minutes? 5 minutes matter. And so instead of just turning my computer on right away in the morning or looking at my phone right away in the morning, I'm trying to build the habit of coming down and sewing for 5 or 10 minutes. I do that while I wait for my coffee to brew. And it kind of gets me going in the morning in a different way. And so I'm hoping that it's going to help me get a little bit more done. So, and be a little more constructive rather than just scrolling through everything. So these are the little units that I have been working on forever and ever. I started this in October of 2024. And like most things, it's on and off. Well, now I just figured I don't want it to be on and off. I just want to get going with it and get on to the next little been using this as a leader ender, and now I think I just can put it to the front of the line and finish this off. So these long strips, there are 24 of these units, okay? And a unit is a 2.5 inch square of a neutral and a 1.5 by 2.5 inch print piece. So I sew those together, and that's what I'm calling a unit. And it has been, well, I guess it's a good scrap buster. As I go through my different scrap bags, I do pull out pieces that I think will be at least 1.5 inches wide that I can cut these from. So my most recent cutting, I guess I got maybe 6 of these little pieces from that one. And so I have a pile here of my pieces that I've cut, and I'm almost running out of my neutrals. So what I'm going to be doing today is I am going to be joining all of those units into my columns. So what I figured out, this is one unit is 2.5 inches wide by 3.5 inches long. And I've decided to put 24 units into a column. And that will give me a nice throw-sized project. Now, and then I need 30 columns. Well, March has 31 days. So my goal is that I am going to make one of these columns every day. And I have a head start on the columns because I had already been sewing like smaller groupings together. So I'll catch up a bit and get, let's see, that was the one I just showed you was my 3rd column. So this is March 7th. I need 4 more columns in order to be caught up. So I thought I would work on that for a little while this morning. And as long as my counting things isn't too distracting, I figured that I would I would sew a couple more columns this morning, and then let's see, I'll show you the rest of my bin here. So I showed you these are the pieces that I have yet to sew together, and I have a bunch of these that, well, 6 of these already sewn, ready to put into a column. And then I have this basket of units that are divided up into colors. So I have my dark blues. I've got some whole stack of lighter blues here. Lighter blues. I got to find the right place in the camera here. Bunch of greens, whole bunch of, so see, that's a big stack of greens, I think. I mean, if I have any color that I need to make more of, it's probably in the warm colors, reds especially, maybe some more oranges and yellows. I think I'm a little shy on that part of the spectrum. So I'm not sure how many this is. I kind of lost track last month as to how many of these I have. But I think there were definitely over 500. And if I do my 24 per column and 30 columns, then I need, I don't know, what's the rough math on that? At one point, I figured I needed about 700 of those units. So, but for right now, I'm going to sew up what I have, see how many columns I can make, and then I'm going to make a decision from there at the moment, I'm really I really like it. And if I still have more, I'm actually thinking of, instead of doing uh, a throw size, I think I'd actually like to make it, let's say, a twin bed size. Uh, I'll I'll think about that as I go, because really there's so many, I have so many scraps. So let's go on to, let me show you this. So if you, I posted a little video a couple of days ago that March was, the color for March is red. And so I'm following along with Angela at soscrappy.blogspot.com. And I think on Instagram, she's way too scrappy. Anyway, I can put her information below. But if you look for her, at the end of every month, she tells you what color to work on with your scraps the following month. So she pulled red. And so if you didn't see my other video, this is my red scrap bag. And a few months ago, I decided to put all of my scraps into these big, giant, these are like 3.5 gallon size baggies. And then I could kind of tuck them onto a shelf a little bit more easily instead of having another piece of furniture around. I can just carry them around or tuck them away. So this is what I'm working on for March. Now, February was green. So I started pulling, I pulled out a handful the other day and just spent 15 minutes kind of sorting them. They're all mostly pressed already, but they still get wrinkled a little bit in those baggies. So I'm looking at over at my table there. I have divided them up so that I can have long strings, shorter strings. I had a few width of fabric strips that I would probably cut down into the appropriate size, whether it's 2.5, 2, or 1.5. I had a couple that looked like I had one that looked like it could be a 10-inch square, and a couple more that might be a 4.5-inch square. And of course, some random scraps and some little things. So I'm still pulling those out and kind of sorting those and getting some of those. And next I'll get some of those cut up into some of these projects. So when I get to doing that with my reds, that'll be good, because I'll be able to, I'll work on cutting those up first, because I really want to put some more reds into that. So I'd really like to have my 30 columns done by the end of March. At one point, I was thinking it would be, my goal was farther off from that, but I really think I'd like to be done with this one and be able to move on to the next one, next kind of a scrappy project. And so I'm thinking I maybe don't want to have 8 or 10 projects going at one time. So I'm thinking of narrowing that down so that this one, by the way, this one is called Offset, and I've talked about it before on different episodes. And it's a pattern by Cheryl Arkeson. So, and she's at Crazy Mom Quilts. See, I put this little label up here so that I would be able to remember her Instagram page. But anyway, so I think that's doable. I do think I could get at least the 30 columns done by the end of March. I'm not traveling so much in March. And so I think I'll be able to be around enough to do that. And yeah, so those, I think it'll go pretty fast. So let me sew a little bit here. So welcome in if you're just joining. If you're just joining in, tell me what you're working on. I'd like to hear what kind of projects you're doing as well, especially if you have a scrap project that you're working on, because I always need ideas for the scrap projects. Working on your Dear Jane. Oh, good for you. Oh, I'm so impressed. I went to a show on Thursday, and Jane, you'll have to say what your impression was of the show. I really liked the show this year. It's at it's in Bloomington, Indiana, the home of Indiana University. And it's at the convention center down there called the Monroe Convention Center. And they have I think it's the local guild show. I'm trying to think. The sponsor is the Indiana Heritage Quilt Show, I think is IHQS, I think is the organizer of the show. And I've been going for every year for years and years, because it always signals to me the start of quilt show season. And what could be better than that? I love going to shows. So I went down on Thursday with a couple of friends, and of course we had a good time. But there was a Dear Jane quilt there. I wonder if I took a picture of it. Let me see. Let me see if I have that picture. I'd say Dear Jane is still on my bucket list. Is this it? This is it. And let me see. If I hold my phone up there, can you see that? Can you get a view of that? Does that come across? So if anybody out there has not seen a Dear Jane, that's what a Dear Jane quilt is. And Tanya, what's the size of the block? Are they 5-inch blocks? I'm trying to remember what but they're really small. They're really, really small. Okay. Good. Good. So Tanya, yours will have all different colors in it. I mean, this is a beautiful color palette on this one. That's a really pretty color palette, at least to me. But anyway, so I took a picture of it because I think it's an amazing, just an amazing quilt. And I think I have, it's under 10 blocks made. I know that for sure. And at some point, I don't know, maybe I'll get back to it. Okay, so it's 4.5 finished. All right, so I was close. Okay, Tanya, how many blocks have you counted? How many blocks is that? Is that something you try to keep track of? Because I know I think there was a little like checklist or graph or something in the back of the book so that you could keep track of, because there's so many blocks. You need to have a way. 169. Okay. So you need to have a way to keep track of which ones you've made and which ones you haven't made. So years and years ago, see, Brenda, the author of the book, Brenda used to live in Indianapolis. And so years and years ago, I took a class from her, and we made, it was so fun. She was a really great teacher, and she started us off with what she considered to be one of the most difficult blocks. And she said, you need to start with that one while I'm here with you, and I can show you the tricks for it, so that you don't come up against it later and get, stop dead in your tracks. So, Okay. All right. 13 blocks, 13 rows. Thank you for reminding me. Obviously, it's been a while since I um pulled my book out. But every time I see one, it just kind of brings it up to the front of my mind that it's something that I'd really like to get back out again and work on. So anyway, so that's a little bit about Dear Jane. That was one of my favorite quilts that I saw in the show. There were also a lot of Judy Niemeyer quilts in the show this year. She's the Quiltworks designer that does all of the Mariner's Compass style, lots of pointy points, really crazy detailed um, quilts. And so, um, oh, so you have enjoyed working on it. So Tanya, is there a method, like, do you say, oh, I want to make one block a week, or do you find that you need to give yourself any prompts like that? I mean, that's why, like I said, I've got to prompt myself and set myself up some goals for even this one, to say, okay, I want to have one column a day. I mean, because this is like really simple sewing, so I should be able to do one a day. Anyway, it's always good to hear how other people set themselves up for success and how they get projects done, because we all need a couple of tips like that, I think. So the show was really, really good. It's a very small show, at least compared to, let's say, Paducah or Houston. It's just a small regional show, but it still attracts a lot of highly, highly skilled quilters, and I'm always impressed by the skills that other people have. And I know that's not me. I have not entered anything into that show. I don't know if it would be accepted or not. I don't know. I don't know if it's juried or if they take anything that gets entered. Okay. So, all right. So, Tony, if you started with applique, does that mean it's because applique is your favorite, or is it because you don't really like applique and you wanted to make sure you got those done first? Okay. Oh, it's not a juried. All right. All right. Thank you, Jane. Yeah. So the Bloomington show is not juried. And I suppose I should enter something in there at some point. But I haven't. So but if I ever finished a Dear Jane, I would probably want to enter that all over the place, because that would be quite an achievement. So I didn't get a lot at the show. I only got a couple of little things that I can show you. So because I have been cutting up all my low volume stuff, and I really mean I've gotten into some of my muslin scraps, and I actually I've kind of run low on some of the neutrals that I want to use. A lot of my neutrals seem to go more towards tan, and I didn't want tan squares in this. I would rather have, let's see, I don't mind doing, like, this is sort of a grunge, this one, and I really like my little popsicles. But I don't want like 150 popsicles in there. So I ended up getting just for fun, I ended up getting a couple of neutral fat quarters. So I think this one's really cute. It's got these little park benches. That'll cut up and look very nice. And I like this one. I got a companion with this. There's a whole line of this. Let me see if I can get the name of it, just in case somebody else probably. I've been out of, it seems like, the quilt industry in terms of knowing what different lines are. I used to keep track of it and know every single line that came out, and now I don't. Okay, so this one is called Sparkler by Melissa Mortensen. Really, really cute line, all different colors. And I kind of had to stop myself from buying a lot more of hers. And I think this is another one. Let me check. I'm pretty sure this was in the same bin as I got the other ones. So I think that one's really cute too. That does look like a little sparkler, doesn't it? So I got a couple of those that I think I'll chop up into at least a couple strips into my squares as I need them. And this one also I will cut up. Let me see if I can get, no, this one does not have the name of the selvage on this one. And then I got a couple of other ones for just for fun. So this one was the backing of a quilt that I just finished for a friend of mine. And I thought it was so cute. And then when I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, I want to have a little piece of that, because I like cats. So, and then the final piece that I bought, let's see, this is a Wyndham Fabrics, and can't really tell, but it's got stars, multicolored stars. So I thought that would be a really good blender. That's not for my offset though. Excuse me, just a sec. Okay. Tonya, thank you. Thank you for answering that. I appreciate it. Okay. So there are a lot of applique blocks. Yeah. I know and I'm not a very good needle turn appliquer, but I'm sure I would improve if I did all those blocks as needle turn, right? You got to do it if you want to get better at it. So, that's all the fabric I bought at the show. Welcome. I see a couple more people have popped in, and thanks for coming in and joining me. I'm just in between sewing a little bit. I'm just kind of telling you what's been going on over here in my part of the world. And so thanks for coming in. And hope that you'll tell me what you're working on. And I know Jane said she's working on a backing for a quilt. And Tonya is working on a Dear Jane quilt. And I am working on this little project that I've been had in progress for quite a while, and I wanted to really get to making some more progress on it. So I hope you have something that you are stitching on today. Let me sew another seam or two and get a count. Maybe I can get another column done here. See, I've got some that are fairly long already. But when I said that I was going to try to reduce how many projects I worked on at any one time. I haven't gotten back to working on my Bonnie Hunter mystery for a while. And so I quite so many things going on at once, but I want to get back to that one. So I need to kind of work my way through some of these other projects and get them kind of cleared off the table here so that I can move on to some other ones. Let's see, what do I like with that one? So I thought I'd make a couple more columns here. And at least get up to 7 by the end of today or tomorrow. That's okay. I'm just trying to little by little get caught up to having one a day for March. You know, years ago, and I don't know if Pat still does this, but Pat Sloan used to do a March block a day quilt, where she would put out a pattern and everybody who wanted to would make one of those blocks every day for the month of March. And then by the end of the month, you would have 30 blocks, which was usually enough for a small throw quilt. And the block wasn't usually very complicated. It's not like it would have 100 pieces in it. And so it really was achievable. And I know she's kind of moved things around on her website a little bit. And I think some of those projects are still up on her website. But I always kind of liked that concept of having that goal to try to get something like that done. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I need a couple more foursies here. Do I have a couple of foursies? I have some twosies. I thought I had some fours. Thought I had some of those. Well, maybe I used them. We'll do a couple of twos then. All right. A couple more. I should grab that project to show you for that little kitty fabric that I bought. This one. I'll show you that because I didn't get that back to Becky yet. We're meeting up later. So this is the project that I just took off the frame. When did I finish that one? Earlier this week. So isn't that pretty? Let's see. Is that better? Can you see that better now? It's a good lap size. Really pretty. And it has, if I can get it up a little closer, it has a cat fabric in the border. She loves cats, so this quilt is for her so she can enjoy all of her cat fabrics. And then this one has cute little kitties in it. See that? And the backing is this print that I just got to buy a little bit of it. And it's a Timeless Treasures print. So So that was really fun to work on. And the next one, isn't that pretty? She did a good job on it. You know, that rolling, I think it's called a rolling stone, that block. And it uses lots of squares. And I know I'd have to paper piece those buggers because square and a square does not come out square for me. I just seem to struggle with getting everything straight on those. So whenever I see those units in a quilt, I am pretty sure I'm going to be paper piecing them in order to have them come out nicely. And so I have a container on my shelves here with like different sizes of those kind of blocks and some other blocks that I find myself kind of constantly challenged with. And so if I were to make it, I would have to paper piece it. But she did not. She was able to do it without that. So and she's so good at picking out colors. Her quilts are always very happy looking. So the next one that I have on my machine, and you really can't see it, but it is another one that that I'm doing that Jane and I are finishing up for our friend Sonia for her family. So it's really pretty, and if I could show it to you, I would, but it's on the long arm. And so I've almost always try to have something going on there, or at least a couple times a week. Keep that machine, keep it going. I love having my long arm. I really do. I know it's not for everybody, but I really enjoy having a long arm. So if you have any questions about having a long arm, let me ask away. Let me know. Happy to answer anything I can with that. I used to have a much larger client list and do that full time, but now I am just do a few a month for friends and a few of my long standing clients, and so really not that many a month, just because I like doing it, and those are people that I like seeing, and just I love seeing other people's projects. That's half the fun of it, is just seeing what other people are working on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, let me do a couple more here, and I'll have another column done. And then maybe I'll go on to a different project. So Jane, if you're still there, what did you vote for viewer's choice? I will tell you which one I voted for, because I thought it was so unique and interesting. And let me see if I have a picture of it. Here it is. Now I should have taken a picture of her name tag on this, but I didn't, darn it. So this was so cool, and it is a quilt of Mount Fuji, and all of those little cherry blossoms on the tree were held in place by French knots. And just the cool amount of detail on this, and the way that she got those like little wavy creases in there It almost looked like intentional folds in the fabric that gave it that 3D look. And then those extra hexagons in there that are kind of trapuntoed. And it was just beautiful, just really, really interesting. Really unique. And like I said, there were so many beautiful quilts to choose from there. But I like the combination on that of handwork and that little bit of fabric folding and the all the little details. Oh, you didn't vote, but you took a lot of pictures. I took a lot of pictures this time, and it was quite inspiring. I really yeah, that raven was quite cool. Yeah, that was really a cool one. Um, and I really do admire the Judy Niemeyer ones. There were some really cute sampler ones that I took pictures of, and since I always have sampler blocks going, I was thinking that those had some really good setting ideas in them. My favorite vendor, there's a few vendors. There's not a ton of vendors. My favorite vendor was, let's see, what is her? One Wing Wool. I don't know if anybody does wool applique. Let's see. Darlene Smith. So Darlene was there. She's from Wisconsin. And let's see, can you see that? onewingwool.com. She had a really pretty booth, lots of wonderful samples. And so I kind of had a thing for boxes lately. So this is wool applique. And so I really liked the scale. I mean, just a tiny project to work on, a nice little hand project. Because one of the things I found out, I just got home recently from a 2-week trip to go and stay with my mother and take care of her for a couple of weeks. And I ran out of hand projects to do. I really like to have something to work on during the downtime, because she's not as active as she used to be. She's 96. We don't go running around all day doing stuff, right? So there's downtime, and I just did not bring enough stuff to work on. So I'm going to kit this one up myself. I know I have some I know I have some wool that I could use for this, because these pieces are tiny. And so I got my box of wool out that I've felted, and then so I'm going to get that one ready. And then I also bought from her this was a really pretty blue and white, and also fairly small, 14-inch diameter. You can see that and so the kit comes with all the different wools, and I thought that would be really pretty to work on. I don't have a lot of stuff to put out once Christmas is over. So I thought it would be a really nice, be really pretty to set out on my front table in my hallway, in my front hall when I get that done. So especially for January, February, March, I thought it'd be really pretty. So if you like, and I think there's just not as many people doing wool applique or vendors for wool applique as there used to be. I know for a while maybe early 2000s. It seemed like it was hugely popular. And wool applique is really forgiving. And it is, for me, I can do wool applique a lot more easily than I can needle turn with cotton. And so I do have a couple of other kits that I should get to for fall, but I've been keeping the kits really small, and hopefully that means they're doable, and hopefully I will get them. The ones that are just patterns, I'll get them kitted up, but I do have a couple that I can work on, and I need to bring more stuff with me when I go to visit my mother. Less clothes, more projects. That's what I'm thinking. I didn't use half the clothes that I brought with me. And of course, she's got a laundry there, so it's not like I can't wash things. So I will try to pack better next time. And actually, she will be coming to stay with us 2 weeks in April and May. So I'm thinking that that's going to be a much better arrangement for us than having me gone for a couple of weeks at a time, that she'll come and stay with us. We are lucky enough to have the space for it. It does mean we're going to be doing a little bit of reorganizing, because we don't want her going downstairs anymore. She used to use the bedroom on the second floor, and now we're going to switch up some rooms and get a room sorted out for her on the main level, so that she can do stairs, but I don't want to take the chance. So we're going to have a bedroom set up for her on the main level. So we're going to get that done over the next couple of weeks, and then be ready for her to move in and live with us for a few weeks. And I think everything will work out just fine. Let's see, one. So maybe she'll be a guest sometime when I'm sitting here and live. Maybe I'll have her come down and say hello. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Good. There's another column done. All right. So 2 of those for right now. So how about I switch over to something else? Let's see. I mean, I could keep going on that one. Well, let me see how far this one is. Oh, I see. This is a couple of longer ones. All right. Well, those wouldn't be so hard to sew together. All right. So the next project that I'm trying to make some progress on every day is this one in flannels. And the block is actually half of this, right? So that's the block. And I have, again, this was a project that I had in mind to make, it has to be a dozen years ago, because I bought this book in 2013. And so, yes, it's been a while. And it's really, really beautiful book. I am very inspired by Kathy Doty. I really like her projects. Here's the inside cover. Just gorgeous. And the project that I am doing is, let's get this. Well, it's this one. And of course, she used brighter and scraps. And I actually, once I finished the one in flannel that I had started a bazillion years ago, I do want to make it again in brighter colors. Let's see. Here we go. Here's them. So maybe that's a little better picture of it. So I actually have made some progress on it lately. So I did make my test units. I have gotten all of my pieces cut, and I have gotten all of my twosies sewn. So that means I have a whole stack of these, all the ones that I need for this unit, and so on. So I have all my twosies sewn, and I have some strips already sewn together in putting the pairs into fours. So I need to, let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 6 rows in the block, and I have 1, 2, 3 of those rows all sewn. So I wanted to stitch these up together, right? The darks meet in the middle. And so I want to sew a batch of those and get a bunch of those. I'm going to do it in the same size that she has, which when I look at it in my head, I'm calling it 9 blocks. Whether or not it's 9 blocks, I'm not worried about. But in my head, I'm like, okay, I need that many. So I'm going to do it that size. And it does make a really good size quilt. So once I do this, I do think it's going to be a really good stash buster, especially for these scrap bags that I have sitting here behind me. If I could get, so as I'm going through my scraps, if I can pull out with the fabric 2.5-inch strips, because sometimes they get stuck in there, but I'll pull those out. And if I can take some of the larger chunks from the scrap bags, then I can cut those up into 2.5-inch strips as well. So this is the scrap bag that I'm talking about. So a question for you. Would a bag of scraps like this, how do you feel about it? Does it make you get excited? Do you feel like, oh, huge opportunities? Does it, if this was in your stash along with hundreds of other bits of fabric on fat quarters and half yards and all of that rest of that stuff, would this feel overwhelming? Would you tackle it? How would you tackle it? So this, I weighed this at the start of March so that I would know if I made a dent in it or not. It was 4 pounds, 14 ounces. Okay, that's just the reds and the pinks. Now, the other bag that I'm also going to try to do a little bit of digging on is my neutral one. And I have pulled out some from my neutrals so that I could cut those 2.5-inch squares. But this one, let's see, what did this one weigh? The last time I weighed it, it was 6 pounds. So these bags hold a ton of scraps. And then the third one that I'm pulling from this month are my yellows, and I will show you what the project that I'm doing with some of my yellows. Because I have a project that I'm doing in color order, and I'm up to yellow. So I'm not just working on my red ones, although that was originally my plan, was just to work on one baggie a month. So the more time I spend on my scraps, the less time I have for finishing UFOs, works in progress, and things like that. So I'm trying to balance all that out, and so that I can be trying not to add too much to my scrap stash. And I'm getting better at, I can give you a couple of tips for that. I want to change my thread color here. When I'm working with these flannels, I think I'd rather use a little bit darker thread color. I don't need to use my good expensive Aurifil on that. I can use my something a little let's see. One of the things I often do, so my word for this year is to reduce. And so in reducing, let's see, I am just trying to be more mindful of how I can use stuff up and lower my inventory. So it's part of being able to, oh, here we go. So one little tip is, okay, I have extra bobbins from my long arm bobbins that I didn't finish using up. And I keep all of my bobbins in this bigger bobbin boat, for at least for my long arm. And I really like these. They make these also for regular size bobbins, but I already had these, so I didn't need to buy any of those for my other. But I have one of these for each of my sewing machines so that I don't get my bobbins mixed up. So right now I'm sewing on an older Bernina. This is a 153. You don't really get to see it, do you? Well, the way I've got this. Should I have my camera anything down? Would you rather see what I'm sewing? Would that be a better angle? If it is, if you'd rather see that and look at me, then let me know. So I will often use the bobbins that I have left over from my long arming, and I will use them as my top thread. And they work just fine. There is no problem with that. And I will use any weight thread that I have. I don't mind using, well, the 40 weight thread gets to be a little thick, but sometimes I just need to clear off a few bobbins and I will use it. If you're doing really fine piecing, let's say with your Dear Jane quilt, I would not use a 40 weight thread doing a Dear Jane or something with tiny pieces, because I do think it affects your seam allowance and makes your seam allowance a little bulkier. But with flannel, oh, that'll just sink right in. And so it won't matter. It won't matter at all. So I can use up leftover bobbins from any project that kind of, this one is just a little bit darker color than a white. I don't really want to use that light of a white thread there for flannel, because I don't want it to show through. I have gotten quilts in from people, and where if you use a white thread on piecing something dark like this, if their stitch length is not small enough, if it pulls apart at all, you see the white stitches. And you really do not want to see white stitches in that patchwork. That I think that really detracts from it. So so I would, I don't know, I try to use at least somewhat similar color thread when I'm stitching. And so with this flannel, I just didn't want a white thread. I just went with something just a little bit darker. So I am sewing up these twosies. That's a row in my block. It'll be the top row in the block. And again, if I would love to be able to get this one done by the end of March as well, because it's really pretty simple sewing. And if I can get these, so again, I just kind of set myself some small goals and try to sew a batch of these rows together every day, and at least since I've gotten home. If I had had a machine out at my mother's, I could have gotten this one all done. For sure. I could have gotten this one completely put together, because it's that easy. And I think this would be really, really cute also in the any color combination you want, whether you want to do brights, or you could do, if you did brights, you could do black background fabrics. If you wanted to do fall colors, it would look really pretty in fall colors. So I think this one would stay in my rotation, kind of like recipes, right? It's one that would stay in the rotation that I think will look really good in a lot of different colors. And again, that book is called Making Quilts, this by Kathy Doty. And I'm sure it's still out there. It was published a long time ago. But I'm sure it's still out there. And it has some, let's see, maybe I can show you a couple other ones. So here's a really pretty one. This one's called Garden Party. Do I have that? Nope, I don't have that, so you can see it. Hold on. Am I diagonally? I'm challenged with this, aren't I? I can't quite get it to where you can see it. Is that better? There. And it shows up a little better in this diagram. You can kind of see what she's done. I love a pieced background. And if I were to do some raw edge applique like that, or even even needle turn applique on that, on a busy background like that, then I think I could be successful, because if my technique wasn't really that well developed yet, I think it would still look really good. But that reminds me, so I'm going to be taking a class this week. Where is the thing? And it's a free class. Maybe I need to look it up on my emails. Hold on. Let me get to my email so I can make sure I give you the right thing. Okay, so there is a set of free classes being offered, and it's through Quilters Paradise Summit. Okay, Quilters Paradise Summit. And if you look them up, then you can sign up for free and have access to all the classes this week. Or, I mean, you can upgrade to a VIP package and have extra content and pay for that. But I've done a couple of these summits before, and I always learn something. And so I am really excited about this one, because one of the speakers, and they're like 30-minute classes, and they have like 5 classes a day. So you can they give you 48 hours to view any of the classes. If you need more time than that to view them, then you'd have to do a paid option. But one of the classes is going to be on raw edge applique. And I can always use a little help with my raw edge applique. So you might check that out and see if any of the projects or the classes that are going on interest you. I usually find a couple of people on there too that I wasn't familiar with. And so I'm really glad to kind of get to know some of these speakers that I don't know. And so it's a good thing, and it is legit. They do have a Facebook group, and you can join the Facebook group. Let's see. And I think it's under the same name. You'd probably find it just as fast as if I was scrolling things. So yes, I'm the last time I did one of these events, I learned about Kawandi, and Kawandi is, I guess, my interpretation of Kawandi is that it is big stitch quilting on your patchwork, but the patchwork is done not in a traditional sense. So when you are adding pieces, I'm starting with a piece that's about a yard by width of fabric. You start on the outside edge and fold your edges under where you need to. And if you've overlapped something and you're not actually sewing those 2 pieces together with a seam, you are just folding them over, and then you are doing big stitch quilting to hold everything down. And you work into the center. So it's more exciting. I'll show it to you now because I haven't shown it in a while. And so maybe it doesn't look like anything quite yet, but it gets more exciting as you work your way into the center. So this is, so that's as far as I've gotten. And you can see that I have kind of auditioned some of my yellows. I'm just getting over to yellow. And let's see. Hold that up. So can you see that I have done some big stitch quilting here? And now I'm adding my yellow pieces. And when I say that, so this is a raw edge right here. And when I add this piece, I will fold this edge under. And see, this edge is folded under here, but it's not stitched. It will get quilted on. And when I do the quilting on it, it will hold all these edges down. So again, so this is a line of stitching right along that fold. But and you try to catch those edges, but this one, you know, this is not sewn down with a traditional seam. And so it's meant to be pretty portable, I think. And it's the second piece that I've done with this style. And on this one, like I said, I decided to go in order. And so I'm working on those yellows right now. And hopefully I can finish yellow in March, and then next month I will go on to the next color, and so on and so forth. So my goal is that each month I will just add another round of fabrics and colors. And it's been really fun to work on. And the quilter who taught one of those classes at one of these quilter summits is Jen Strasser. She's called the Dizzy Quilter. And so she gave a really good explanation, better than I just did, of how to do it. And so you could look her up, and she's on Instagram and has a website and everything like that. So I guess that's a lot of handwork that's going on, because I find myself these days with some time to do handwork versus always being at the machine. So so that's part of what's happening. So let me see if I can stitch a few more of these. And keep making progress on all of these. So do you know of any, I would love to know of any quilt shows that are in, let's say, local shows that you're planning on going to. I think they're really fun to go to. And let's see. So this is in random order. I suppose I should have had these in calendar order. I picked up a couple of brochures while I was at the Bloomington show. And so here's one. This is the One Stop Quilt Shop Hop. It's in Wabash, Indiana on July 17th and 18th. And that's a really fun to go to. It's not a quilt show. It is a shop hop. So she usually has around, I'm thinking around 30 to 40 vendors at this show, but I'd have to check the website to see how many shows, how many shops signed up for that. There is a show in Indianapolis called A Chain of Quilts, and it will be in July. And it is presented by the Quilt Connection Guild. And you can look up some information there. I have not been to this one before, so I think I'm going to try to go to that one. Then the woman who did all the wool kits, the booth that I liked so much there, she's going to also be vending at this one, and this is a new one in Indiana. So if you're traveling through this way, can you see that? Is there, okay. So again, I've not been to this one. Lots of vendors. This one does have quilts and classes. So I'm going to have to look that one up and see what kind of classes they have going on. So that could be a really fun one to go to. And I think there's one more. Let's see. One more? Yeah, one more. So this one, let's see, Spring Quilt Seminar. It is in support of the Quilters Hall of Fame. And so let's see. A quilt seminar. There's a QR code. If I hold that steady, maybe you can scan it. So that's coming up very soon, coming up next month. And these are the classes. And so that could be really interesting. Really, really interesting. So if you live near enough to Indianapolis to join them, and this also supports the Quilters Hall of Fame, which is in Marion, Indiana. That's a really nice place to go to if you're coming through this area. I've been to the Quilters Hall of Fame several times, and it's always a good visit. It's a very small museum on 2 floors, and you'd have to look at their website to see if they have an elevator. I'm not sure they have an elevator to go up to the 2nd floor because it's in an old house. It's in Marie Webster's house. So I'm just not sure if what accommodations they have. So, but they do have an honorary induction ceremony every year in July. And I think this year it's Judy Martin, but I'm not positive. Again, that would all be on their website. And it's a really nice little spot to go to. And then there are a couple of really fun lunch places nearby that they can tell you about, because what's better than that? A day of quilts and a nice lunch out. So that's a really good one. But do tell me if there are some shows in your area, and I would be happy to pass on that information too for anybody who likes to get out and about and go see different parts of the countryside. So that was one of the most fun things about doing the Indiana Shop Hop last year is driving around through the whole state and getting to see all corners of the state. And I really enjoyed those drives through the countryside. So if that appeals to you, then maybe you would like to come to one of those shows. So a couple more of these so I can get this one pile done. And then I think the other project that I wanted to do a little bit of a show and tell is my string piecing. Maybe you'd rather have me get to that sooner rather than later. I can do that now instead. Let me just get these out of my way. I can come back to it. There's always lots. But I think I promised a little bit of string piecing demo. So if you're hanging on and waiting for that, let me get that out here. So the complaint about string piecing is that nobody likes to take the paper off, right? So now I've got my little bucket here of all my strings. So the method that I use for string piecing, or this type of string piecing, means that I do not have any paper to remove, so to speak. So let me get a couple of my first strings. So I use paper foundation for my string blocks. And I guess I should have brought a couple of those over here. Let's see here. And I need one more thing. I'm here. I just wasn't as ready as I thought I was. So so here are the string blocks I'm talking about. These are the ones I'm working on. And I showed those and probably before that too. So that would have been episode 19. And like I said, I may have shown them in an earlier one, but I'm pretty sure I had shown my progress on these and talked about it a little bit. And then I did get a question about it. So I thought that I would show you what I meant when I said I don't really sew through the paper. So let's kind of get this going here. So I have these, we have a little local newspaper that gets put out weekly, and I save these up and I cut this newsprint into 10-inch squares. Then, because that's kind of the largest size I guess I can get from the newspaper. I'd really like to do one with like a 15-inch paper. And in order to do that, I would end up wanting to tape paper together. And if I tape it together, that's still not a big deal. It's just a little bit more time consuming. So what I have done is I used my ruler. I didn't draw all the lines on this one, but I drew a line for where I need to line up my first two strips. So what I'm doing may not be what you want to do in terms of a design. So kind of don't worry about that too much right now. Just because I picked two white strips to go down the middle is neither here nor there. And so I'm going to put a pin, let me just put a pin in place here. Because, and if I had my glue stick, I would do a glue stick, and that's fine too. So if you want to glue down, just so that stuff doesn't move around, because in this particular design, the reason I'm pinning this and being more careful is because I do want, when I trim my block up, trim off all the excess, because this is a completely trimmed block, I do want my strips to go right through the center here. That's the look that I'm going for. And that's why I am lining this up so that when I sew, I'm going to be sewing through the paper on this very first seam, and that seam will be going through the center line of the block, or it's going to be close enough to that so that when I trim my block, I can get it to be exactly through. So I'm going to sew, and I know you can't see me sewing. I have changed my stitch length to about a 1.2, and I'm going to sew that first seam through the paper. Move my pin. I always start in the center. So even if I wasn't trying to get it spot on to be a center seam, I just always prefer to start off in the center. And then after that, I can add to either side. It just doesn't matter to me which side I add to. So since I still have my darker thread in there, you can see very, very tiny stitches on that, and it is sewn through the paper. So I'm going to open that seam up, and I will just finger press it. Okay, and now this is finger pressed. Okay, and I will, so I have a couple of buckets here for my strings. And one bucket has my longer strings, longer than 12 inches, because this diagonal is actually about 15 inches. And so if I want to grab strings for the next round, I don't want to be digging in the ones that are super small. I want to be able to dig in and find the ones that are long enough right away. So if I start with this bin, then I know that they are already sorted through. So that is, I guess, a tip for you, is that I sort my strings into longer ones and shorter ones. So the next thing I'm going to do is, now I'm just going to use this paper as a guide for size, for how long my string needs to be. And so I extend it out for a bit over outside the paper, okay? And at the bottom, it goes beyond the paper. And then I will trim off some of this excess right away, because it's dangling and it's getting in my way, but you don't have to. All right. So once I line this up, and on this particular one, I am choosing to line up that strip because my middle strips are 1.5 inches, and I want to keep those strips at 1.5 inches. If you had a great big string in the middle and you didn't want to use all of it, then maybe you wouldn't line your edges up like this. But I am lining up my edges. And now that I know where I want to sew, I'm going to fold this paper back. It's out of my way. Now I can go back to a regular seam length. So let's clear that. And hold on, my needle came unthreaded. Get that. Okay. So I'm not sewing through the paper on this one. I'm only sewing through the fabric. Now I go back to my regular seam, my regular stitch, which is about a 2.0. I don't know, whatever your favorite stitch length. Stitch that up. And I'm still using a 1/4 inch seam just like I normally would. Because I'm lining up my edges. But the seam allowance really isn't that critical. So now this is sewn on, and I'm going to open up my seam and give it a finger press. And so here is that strip sewn on. Okay, it extends beyond the paper. Right. Okay, it's this blue strip I just added. It extends beyond in both the top and the bottom. And now I can grab another strip. Let's see. What do I want? This is what takes me the longest. Takes me the longest trying to figure out what strip I want next. Maybe this black and white one. Does that look good? That's in the wrong bucket. Wasn't long enough. Nope, that's not long enough either. Who did that? All right, so here's another nice long one. I'm going to put this one on the other side of my center strip because I think that will look better. So I'm going to lay it down and make sure that it's long enough. And then flip it over. And again, I'm making sure that the ends go past the paper. And after I do that, I am going to fold the paper back out of the way. Okay. And I'm just going to sew the fabrics together with a 1/4 inch seam and my regular stitch length. And I'm not going to sew through the paper. So when I get done with this block, I will, the only time it goes through, the seam goes through the paper is the very first seam. So it's very easy to take that off. And sometimes I can even reuse the paper after I've, when I finish sewing all of the strips together, then I will take the paper off in order to trim the block. And then I'm looking for those middle 2 strips in order to trim this down to 10 inches. And oftentimes I can reuse that paper. And so I find this to be a really handy way to do it. The other little tip that I can give you is that when I am cutting off the excess of the strip, I cut it off at an angle. Okay. So I cut that blue strip off at an angle, and I cut this one off at an angle. And I'm going to open this red one up. That's the one I just sewed on. And when I cut it off, I'm going to cut it off at an angle that follows the paper. And I find that I get better use out of my fabric that way than having, because it gives me an extra couple of inches of fabric so that I can use the rest of this strip somewhere else. Okay. So now this strip will actually, if I had cut it straight, I would have missed out on like the extra length of it. So now it just gives me a little bit more length to work with when I use up the end of the strip. So here we are with 4 strips done. Let's see if I can hold 4 strips done. And this is the only part that's sewn through the paper. So I hope you'll give that a try, because the sewing is faster because you're using a regular stitch length. When you have to sew with a 1.2 or 1.5 stitch length, you're sewing a lot more stitches. And so those seams take just a tiny bit longer to sew. And of course, you're probably not going to need to rip any of those seams when you're doing string piecing. But if you did, you know, that would be a real nuisance. So I like being able to zip along on that with my regular seam allowance. And then when I get done, I don't have paper to rip off. And so I hope that you'll give that a try. And this was not my invention. I don't know. I saw it a long time ago, so I don't really even remember who or where. I'm not quite sure. So if you have seen it somewhere else and would like to give me a reference for it, I would be happy to include that in my description box, because I'm not trying to take anybody's technique. I'm just sharing one that like I said, I didn't think it had any kind of a copyright or anything like that on it. So let's sew another one. I think the satisfying thing for me about using strings is that this fabric, a lot of these strings could have just as easily gone in the trash, and yet they aren't. They're not going in the trash. I am going to make something really fun and interesting and useful with them. So I am laying down this next piece and making sure that it extends beyond my paper and it is ready to sew. These blocks are kind of multicolored, but I was thinking that I might like to do, someone had suggested just doing more or less a single color palette, so that I would just I'd take my bag of scraps and just do blocks with all reds, let's say, or just blues or just greens. And I have so many strings, I could probably do that as well. Let's trim these off and give it a press. And there's the next one. So if I did not want to have all of this yellow showing, maybe I would lay the neck strip to cover part of it so you didn't see quite so much yellow. But I'll decide that when I get to that spot and figure out where I want that to be. And right now, I found another one I want for here. And I do a little bit of trimming on these, trim off excess, because again, that means I know where to stop my seam. If I left these great big, if I left this whole entire length on there, I might be sewing that seam way past where I needed to sew it. And that's just, it's just more than I need to do. So I like to trim those extra excess fabric off before I sew. I have one more little tip for you. So in addition to keeping strings sorted by length, just the two buckets, shorter than 12 inches, longer than 12 inches, I also have a bucket with triangle pieces, because since I'm doing these on the diagonal, when I get to the corners, I'm going to need a triangle piece. So let's see, is this one long enough? Oh, good, that one's long enough. All right, so I'll do a couple more, and then I will grab my little bin of triangles. Let's see. Is this it? Yep. So those triangle cutoffs come from everywhere. I'm not sure where, but I have a whole entire bin of triangles of various shapes. So this one is, yeah, see, it's just got a corner cut off. This one looks like, I don't know, why do I have that left over? I don't know. But this whole bucket is filled with different size and colors, not sorted by color. None of my strings are not sorted by color. They're just in one great big container there. And again, before I sew these on, I fold my paper, check the length of my string and make sure that's long enough, and then fold it back. And sew. So maybe that will give you an idea as to how to store your strings. And if you've made a string project, let me know. I wish we could share pictures of string projects, because each one is so different. It'd be neat to be able to share all the pictures of the string projects. So you can really, to me, I think you can only use this method with string quilts. I can't say that you can use it for all of foundation paper piecing. It's just taking off the for this one style of project. If you're trying to sew blocks with a design on it, I don't think you can use this method. All right, one more. Got some loose strings here. All right, one more, and I can go into my bucket of smaller than 12 inches, less than 12-inch strings. And pull something out for that. That'll work. So now that I have an angled edge on this one, I can line up that edge, and it gives me just the extra length that I need because there's a point there. And it's smaller on the other side, and now it just gives me enough fabric for adding that piece on. Ready, set, go. So I'd love to know if you are going to go to any quilt shows or any shop hops, or if you're in a guild, if your guild has a show coming up. I know the Indie Modern Guild has a show coming up I'm not sure if it's in the summer or in the fall. But if you have any groups that are hosting anything like that, I'd also encourage you to check out that Quilters Paradise Summit. See if that's a class that you might want to take. And if you know of any that are going on that you're going to take, that'd be fun to hear about. And if you save your strings, maybe you can, okay. Thank you, Jane. So if you want to look up online, the Indie Modern Quilt Guild, their exhibition is in September. All right, awesome. Thank you. I don't know if it changes dates or if I just couldn't remember the date very well. Okay, so now I can see about how big a piece I need for that corner. Nothing is sewn onto this paper. It's all free, but I still have my size guide here, and that's about how big of a corner I need. And so I've got a piece here that when I lay it down, it's going to give me plenty of extra. I don't want to skimp on the corner because when I go to trim the block, I want to know that I have enough to work on there. Yes, I could always come back and add another piece. So it's really not, it's not too big a deal. Maybe the green, let me try a green piece. Do I want green? No, I don't want green. Anything else? Ooh, this bright blue. Do I want that? I'll just do this one. That one, too small, too big, just right. There we go. So sometimes I end up working one side and then the other, but I I don't think it really matters. And when I get all my blocks done, the two white strips in the middle are going to actually act as sashing. They're going to look like sashing in this quilt. And so I'm not even worried about whether one side goes with the other. Finger press that. Okay. So there is 1/2 of my string block done. And there is the block. This paper is just hanging on. Almost tearing off all by itself without any help. And now let's work on the other side. We've only got a few minutes left today. Make sure there wasn't something else here that I was going to share with you. I also have some smaller papers cut. I think these are 4 or 5 inch. What did I cut here? These I think are 4.5 inch. So, because 4.5 inch is a size that plays nicely with other sizes. So, I cut these. These are actually from old phone books. And if you ever get the chance to get a phone book or hold on to a phone book, those are really great pages to use. The other thing you can use if you want to do really lightweight paper is to get those doodle pads at the dollar store. Just make sure that the paper is like newsprint weight. And I don't know exactly what that's called, but you can also buy on Amazon. You can buy pads of it, and it's so inexpensive. And so if you want to give this a try and you don't have newsprint or anything like that available to you, like I said, dollar store or Amazon are really good sources. I would not want to use your regular copy paper. Regular copy paper, of course, if you're doing method, you're only going through the paper one time, but I have heard that it dulls your needle, and it's harder to tear off. But almost anything will tear off when it's done with that like a 1.5 stitch length. It'll get perforated enough that that you shouldn't have any trouble pulling off those papers at one time. So I hope you give that a try. If you are saving your strings, and have fun with that. I do like looking at string quilts online. I often have at least one going, because they are a good way to put to use some of these strips that we have. If you're like me and you can't throw them out. Me, oh my. There are not enough hours in the day to use up all of these strips. Just not enough hours in the day. So I thank you for even spending some of your Saturday morning with me. I hope that you've been able to make a little progress on one of your projects. I hope it's been fun for you to hang out. Like I said, I really enjoy hearing what you're working on. Hope that you have a good month of March, that you get a lot done. Maybe, hopefully, weather is good where you are. You could be headed into winter, in which case I'm sorry. Unless you love winter. I'm glad that our winter is almost over. It all goes too fast anyway. It just goes way too fast. I don't have a date for my next live stream. I was thinking that it might be, I might be able to sneak in another one in March. And that would be, yeah. It may be the last weekend in March, around the 28th, I might be able to sneak one in. But if I can't do that, then it will be, when will it be? The first Saturday in April is April 4th. And so that one should be for sure. So first Saturday, if we do first Saturdays and can keep that kind of consistent, and then if I can get to put in another one, I will. And if I have some things to share. Otherwise, I will be working on my next episode and hopefully have that out to you within a week or so. Every Wednesday, I put out a short under 3 minutes, and it will be on anything that is going on. Usually it's about my long arm, what's going on my long arm, but not always, because we all have quilts that need to be finished. And so if I'm hoping that if you check those shorts out, that you'll get to see what different designs look like stitched out on different quilts. And so even if I repeat a design, it'll be on a different quilt top. And you'll kind of get to see how different designs interact with their tops. So if that interests you, you can check out my shorts that come out on Wednesday. If you are a member, memberships start at just 99 cents, I think it is. And then you would get early access to the shorts and to episodes. And I will be working on trying to have some extra content for members. But surprisingly, it's been kind of busy the first part of this year, and being gone for a couple of weeks kind of does set me back a little bit. So I don't have any of that specific content yet. But if there is something that you would like me to demonstrate, and I will probably do the string piecing again in a short or on a special episode, so that you can, maybe I can do it in a little bit more detail. But if there's something that you'd like to see, let me know. Otherwise, I just want to say how much I appreciate all of your comments and hearing about things, and I hope it's been fun for you too. So until next time, I'm Stephanie. I'm the Everyday Sewist, and I might just be spending, with the weather today, I might just be spending a little bit more time at my sewing machine today. While the wind whips around and the clouds are out, it's not too much of a good day for going out to do other things. So I hope to see you soon. I hope to hear from you. And if you'd like more content, please go to my YouTube channel and check out my other videos. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.